Julian arrived punctually at 10. As I had promised, I was wearing that navy blue jacket that he keeps for his presentations, the one that says, "I am professional, but accessible at your side." Veronica came in with her expensive perfume and her impeccable posture, holding a vase with white chrysanthemums as if it were a flag of truce. "Happy birthday," said Julian, giving me a kiss on the cheek. "You look incredible. 75 looks amazing on you." "Wonderful," added Veronica with a smile that seemed more tense than sincere. I thanked them and took them to the kitchen. I had already prepared the tea, and the table was set like every year, my chipped china tableware from my mother, linen napkins folded with diligence. Julian barely sat down before taking a look at his watch. "We have a little birthday surprise for you," he said. "Something to help you relax. You deserve it." I looked at them suspiciously. "What kind of surprise?" Veronica threw a hand in her purse and gave me an envelope. Inside was a voucher for a spa. I arched an eyebrow. "That's just part of it," said Julian. "We'll reserve a stay for you. 2 weeks in a quiet place, close to the mountains of Valle de Bravo. You're going to love it." There was something strange about their voice, a feigned urgency. I looked at my suitcase, already packed, next to the main door. "You packed for me?" "We didn't want you to get stressed," said Veronica, picking up her bag. "It's your day, Amalia." The trip from Mexico City was silent. Julian was driving. Veronica wouldn't let go of her cell phone. I saw how the familiar streets of the Colonia Condesa faded into the road, then onto winding roads surrounded by pines and distant fog. When the sun stopped in front of an iron fence, I saw the sign, "Serene Corner, Private Residence for Seniors." My mouth dried up. Julian parked and got out. He opened my door as if he were a chauffeur. "We're going to register." I didn't move. He put his hand in, took my suitcase from behind, and placed it on the sidewalk. Then he smiled. "Professionals will take care of you," he said before walking away. The entrance was silent, too much for such a big place, not cold, not sterile, but cared for, as if everything was planned. Soft music played in the background, and a vase with fresh eucalyptus adorned the counter. Julian gently pushed me, but I entered on my own. A woman in uniform greeted me with a rehearsed smile. "You must be Mrs. Salazar." We were waiting. "Waiting for me?" "Of course," I said. "Mr. Vargas will come in a moment." She disappeared down the hallway. Julian looked at his watch again. Veronica, by the window, pretended not to notice the glances of the receptionist. The silence was thick. I gripped the handle of my suitcase and looked around the place. The chairs were arranged with intention, angles to talk, low arms to get up easily, a clean but warm blue-gray color palette. On the back wall, a bronze logo hung over a framed mission, *Serene Corner. Dignity in every chapter, my logo, my words. I felt a lurch in my chest. When the door at the end of the hall opened, a tall man with gray hair, neatly cut, dark-framed glasses, and a notepad in hand came out. He looked at the hallway, and his eyes fell on me. He stopped. He didn't just pause, he stopped. It wasn't recognition, it was confusion. He loosened his grip slightly on the notepad. "Mrs. Salazar?" he asked slowly. I nodded. "That's right. I'm Mauricio Vargas, director here. They didn't report that you would arrive today." "No," I replied. Julian took a step forward. "Everything was arranged with your coordinator of income. We talked last week." Mr. Vargas nodded slightly, but kept looking at me with a mixture of concern and calculation. "We will install you," he said at last. "This way, Mrs. Salazar." I followed him down the hallway. The wheels of my suitcase buzzed against the polished floor. I didn't say anything. It was not necessary because, although my voice was still, my memory was already dusting off old files. The room they assigned me was bright and quiet, with a large window that faced the pines, the same size of window that I had demanded in each original plan. No blinds, only cream curtains with weights on the hem so they'd fall straight, no matter how many times they were washed. I sat on the edge of the bed and let the silence settle in. Serene Corner did not exist before Ignacio died. After the funeral, I visited a dozen residences, some gloomy, others saturated with medicines, most of them impersonal. I remember a place that stank of chlorine and hopelessness. That night, I poured myself a glass of mezcal, opened a new notebook, and started writing how to preserve dignity in old age. The original name was Luz Serena. Too soft. Serene Corner sounded firmer, like an oath. I didn't want my name on the project, not in public. So we created a parent company, Growing Properties. I kept my name out of brochures, buildings, even the council. But each wall color, each ergonomic chair, each height of handrails, I chose them. And now here I was, registered as a guest or, worse, as a burden. I walked to the desk in the corner, picked up the landline, and dialed the direct number I hadn't used in 2 years. Viviana Cuevas answered on the second ring. "Amalia," she said immediately. "Tell me it's a courtesy call." "No, it is," I replied. A pause. "Tell me." I told her everything of Julian, the trip, the bars, the director's face. "Send me the forms of income as soon as you have them," she said. "I'll clean it up, and you'll tell me at once." Frozen. Mortgage revoked. Power of attorney notarized. "We'll make it clean." "Add a note to the Fideicomiso North," I said. "Remove the monthly access of Julian." One click of the keyboard. Done. "Put the Esparzas on a list of security surveillance. If they call pretending to be me, deny it." Another click. A pause. Her tone hardened. "Amalia, are you sure?" Never have I been more confident. There was a smile in her voice now. "Don't worry," said Viviana. "By tomorrow, they won't even be able to buy a taco." It wasn't just the residents. That moment at the gate, the betrayal so obvious, so complete, didn't come out of nowhere. The signs were there, small cracks that I covered with hope. 3 months earlier, I entered the kitchen while Julian and Veronica were visiting. I went for more tea. "Just wait a moment." They didn't hear me come back. "She left the oven on again," Veronica whispered. "I'm telling you, Julian, this is going from bad to worse." "She's not dangerous," he replied. "Just distracted." But the sky-high electricity bills and that mess with her recipe. That was once I interrupted from the doorway, pretending I hadn't heard the rest. I checked afterward. They smiled, too radiant. "We were just saying we should seek more regular help," Veronica said quickly. I let it go. I said they were worried, that they cared too much. No, the other way around. But after that day, they watched me more, not with affection, but with evaluation. If I forgot where I left the keys, Julian raised an eyebrow. If I repeated an anecdote, Veronica exchanged glances with him, as if they were counting the minutes until something fell apart. It wasn't until I heard them again, late at night in the hallway outside my guest bedroom, that it actually settled. "She won't last another year alone," Veronica whispered. "We can't go on waiting for her to fall." "I know," said Julian. "It's just that she still has moments of lucidity. It's difficult to prove something." "We don't have to prove anything, just act as if we were protecting." I lay still in bed, looking at the ceiling. My son, the child I took to school in the rain, whom I embraced in fever, whom I accompanied through every scratch, spoke of my decline as if it were a problem to solve. I wanted to believe they were tired, stressed, pressured by work, by appearances. I wanted to believe in the story that made them less cruel, but even a naive heart ends up breaking. The next morning, Mr. Vargas came to my door just after breakfast with a small pile of papers and an unsure look. He knocked once and waited, always polite. "I brought your entry documents," he said. "Standard files for residents. We need your signature for the medical consent and payment agreements." I invited him in. "Thank you. May I check them first?" "Of course." He put the folder on the desk next to the window and pulled up a chair for me. I moved slowly with intention. He was watching me, probably thinking of fragility, but the truth was I needed a moment to stabilize myself, not because of age, but because of what I was about to do. "Mr. Vargas," I said softly, skimming the first pages before signing. "Would you mind showing me the organizational documents of this place, for my tranquility?" He frowned. "You refer to the ownership structure? We don't usually share that, but I guess there's no problem. Everything is registered with the state." I nodded, just curiosity. He left and returned 15 minutes later with another folder, legal documents, sealed, ordered with precision. I thanked him and waited for him to leave. I opened it, Minutes of constitution, minutes of the council, corporate structure, a single parent company as the owner of the property assets, Crescent SCB. Page after page passed under my fingers until I reached the breakdown of shareholders. It wasn't highlighted. It didn't need to be. Amalia Beatriz Salazar, 90% of participation. Other partners, 10% remainder in trust for operating partners. I hadn't seen it on paper for years, but there it was, in black letters, clear, without aliases, no shell companies, just the name I was born with, the one I decided to keep. I held the page open, reading it again as if the ink could fade away, but it didn't. I closed the folder and put it in the envelope. Later, when Mr. Vargas came back, I gave it back to him without saying anything. He nodded, probably thinking I checked it out of boredom, but I wasn't bored. I was remembering, readjusting. "Do you need anything else?" he asked courteously. I left the admission forms to one side, untouched. I looked into his eyes and said clearly, softly, "Amalia Beatriz Salazar, main shareholder, 90%. Viviana wasted no time. By noon, withdrawal notifications of Julian's monthly payments stopped arriving. The automatic transfers he thought would pay his card just didn't arrive. Their access gave an error. When he called the bank, they told him the account had been restructured. Veronica tried charm first. "I'm speaking on behalf of my mother-in-law, Amalia Salazar," she said with that cutting tone she used with waiters who made mistakes in her order. It must be a mistake. She would never restrict access. The man on the other side was unfazed. "Madam, we have recorded that Mrs. Salazar gave the order personally this morning. Legally, you have no authority." There was a pause. Veronica, now without composure, raised her voice. "We've handled her accounts for more than a year." "That is no longer the case," he replied calmly. "Any query, direct it through a lawyer." Viviana sent me updates in short messages. Asterisk, everything done. Mortgage guarantee revoked. Corporate cards cancelled. Esparza consultation blocked in Benort. Your son has already tried calling. They're in trouble, asterisk. I sat next to the window, watching the light move between the trees while she wrote. That afternoon, Mr. Vargas appeared again with a tea tray and a small plate with lemon cookies. I nodded in gratitude. He didn't ask any questions, just said, "It's a quiet day here." And he left me alone. But somewhere far away, I imagined the noise. I imagined Julian pacing back and forth in their remodeled kitchen, phone glued to his ear, voice rising with each disconnected call. I imagined Veronica whispering behind a closed door, Googling laws of the rights of older adults and corporate clauses, furious because nothing applied, everything from behind the glass walls they built themselves. They never thought I would answer. They never believed I had the strength or access to claim what I said. But that's what confidence does. Once broken, it resonates. And their screams now echoed in the void I once filled with love. They arrived just before noon. I knew they would. Mr. Vargas knocked once and entered my room with a cautious expression. "Your son and daughter-in-law are here," he said. "They are upset." I directed them to the private conference room. "Surveillance is active, as you asked." I stood up, smoothed my blouse, and walked down the hall. When I opened the door, Veronica was already standing, arms crossed, face flushed with rage. Julian was rigid in a chair, jaw clenched, eyes fixed on the corner camera. "This is madness," Veronica blurted out. "You've made us look like fools. You froze our credit, our mortgage." I settled in front of them, hands crossed. I didn't say calmly, "I only took what is mine." Julian leaned forward. "You froze my accounts. You revoked the guarantee of our loan." "That's right. You didn't even call." "Neither did you," I said. "No. Before you packed my things and left me here as if I were a donation." Veronica let out a dry laugh. "We were trying to help you. You've been failing. You forget conversations, you leave lights on. Last week, you called me Carla." I stared at her. "I'm 75 years old. Some days I forget a name. That's not decline, it's life." Julian's voice broke. "You took us by surprise." "No," I said again. "I answered your decisions, your plan to erase me from your lives in the name of responsibility." Veronica laughed half-heartedly. "So what is this?" "Your great revenge." I stood up, not suddenly, but with weight. I walked to the table and put a sheet of paper in front of them, Viviana's memorandum with each action taken, every legal step, every trace of audit. No, it's not revenge, I said. It's documentation. It's clarity. It's what happens when someone plays God with the life of another and forgets who paid the roof over their heads. They did not speak. Julian looked down. Veronica's mouth trembled as if she wanted to say something, but had no sure words. I took the sheet, folded it, and kept it in my pocket. It's not punishment, I said firmly. It's accountability. They didn't move. For a long time, they just stood there, breathing the same air they tried to control. I saw Julian sink into his chair, letting his shoulders fall under a heavier weight than shame. Veronica, on the other hand, kept her back straight, as if pride could sustain her when nothing else did. I didn't come to finish off their lives, I said quietly, but not to make things easier for them. Julian lifted his gaze. There was something different in his eyes now, no challenge, no blame, something closer to recognition. I spoke with Viviana, I continued. A new account was opened in your name, Julian. It has a part of what I would have left you if none of this had happened. You can't touch it yet, not now, nor the next year. In 5 years, if you have maintained a stable job and completed a certified therapy program, you will have access. He stared at me. Therapy. Yes, the one that helps you understand that love is not control, that dignity threatens no one but the proud. Veronica snorted, grabbed her bag, and stood up. This is humiliating, isn't it? It's something you earned, isn't it? I said. That's your choice. She left without saying anything else, her heels clacking in the hallway like full stops. Julian remained seated. You'd still do that after all? I do it for you, I said. I do it to live in peace, knowing that I left a door open. He nodded slowly, jaw tense. I don't know what to say. I stood up, ready to go back to my room. So don't say anything. At the door, I stopped for just a moment to look at him. Don't thank me. Earn it. It happened months later. I live in a small house on the shores of Lake Chapala. It has floors that creak and a solarium that catches the heat like an old memory. The walls are light blue. The kitchen always smells a little like rosemary, and the neighbors leave lemons on the porch without asking for anything in return. No one here knows me as the woman whose son tried to make her disappear. They know me as Amalia, the one who paints on weekends and brings butter cookies to the reading club. There's a widow on the street who swears by bay leaf tea and a retired jazz musician who plays his soft trumpet on Thursday nights from his terrace. We greet each other. Sometimes we sit together without speaking. I wake up early now, not because I have to, but because I want to. I read poetry, make French press coffee, walk barefoot in the sand before the world wakes up completely. Julian hasn't called. I don't expect him to. The account is still intact. Viviana sends me quarterly reports, just in case I want to see where the numbers are. I never ask if he decides to climb toward that. It's his ladder to build, not mine to offer anew. There's a canvas drying in the corner, a sunset over the water, thick brushstrokes of calm. I'm not looking to capture something perfect, just the truth of light, air, and solitude. Some nights, I stand by the window with a glass of water and hear the lake pull the shore, not to lament, no more, but to feel the rhythm of something that asks for nothing in return. This is not an escape, it is not a challenge. Peace is no longer an escape, it is a return home. The morning of my 78th birthday, someone knocked at the main gate, not strong, just enough to be real. I opened the window and saw him there. Julian, thinner, with older eyes, without a suit, just a simple shirt and jeans. In his hand, a small bouquet of wildflowers, lavender, clover, and something yellow I didn't recognize. He didn't say hello, he just waited. I went out barefoot on the porch steps. As I opened the gate, he didn't move immediately. "Happy birthday, Mom," he said softly, offering me the flowers. I didn't come to fix anything, I just came to be here. I took the bouquet. They smelled like something honest. We sat on the porch. He didn't rush anything. He didn't defend himself. He just talked about work in construction, about group therapy, about the nights he faced the silence I once lived. I saw myself in those sessions, he said, and I didn't like the reflection. I listened. I didn't cry, I didn't console him. That was no longer my concern. When he finished, he looked at me as if he didn't know if he had the right to expect something. I don't ask to come back, he said. I just wanted to look into your eyes and say that I was wrong. I put the flowers in a glass of water and placed them next to the window. Then I turned toward him. My door is open, Julian, but next time, bring proof, not flowers.